Hi there, guys. Getting up on stage. Okay.
Is my mic on? You can hear okay. Awesome. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm going to hope that my mic doesn't go. This is a little bit loose, so I hope it doesn't fall off. So I'm just going to work it like this and then walk up and down and just make sure it's safely secure. So thanks Donald for the intro. I often
Get a lot of stunned faces when talking about programmatic advertising. My background is fairly technical, so I'm also very cognizant and aware that I have to hold back sometimes to make sure that I don't get too technical and get too caught up in the jargon that we have, which is often very overwhelming for people. So for me, the purpose of whenever I'm giving a talk or a master class or doing workshops and training, I make a concerted effort to make sure that I don't talk in acronym language. You know, CPM, PPC, CTR, LMNOP, everything of the alphabet. Right. I have an 8-page glossary just of acronyms on programmatic advertising. That's excluding digital advertising, right? So for me, the purpose here is to make sure that I don't get caught up and say that. I'll actually challenge you guys, maybe what we can do is play a little game, and it also just makes sure that I can see that you guys are actually paying attention during the class. So this is a master class, not necessarily a lecture. I don't necessarily like hearing the sound of my own voice continuously all the time. So very much like what Ariel was alluding to earlier, is if you want to raise your hand and you have a question, or if there's some explained it correctly for you guys, and you want me to sort of articulate in another way, please do not hesitate to call up. I think the more interactive it is, the better. And if you do catch me doing an acronym, raise your hand and say, busted or something, and then I'm like, okay, cool, I got it, right? If you know the acronyms, even better. But yeah, so pretty much my talk today, didn't get the cover there, is on programmatic advertising. It is a very common buzzword. I suppose by a show of hands, who has heard of the terminology programmatic advertising before attending the conference today? Okay, most people. Show of hands, who of you are confident in how you would define what programmatic advertising is? Yeah, I should hope so. You're from Aegis, Cara. Okay, cool. Ariel, you should know in terms of what programmatic advertising is because you do it, right? It's Google. Google is a form of programmatic advertising. Who in the audience here does Facebook advertising, paid Facebook advertising? Okay. Did you know that's also a form of programmatic advertising? Yeah, okay. And why is it a form of programmatic advertising? Because exactly as Donald was alluding to, it's automated, right? You're not manually doing everything step by step. You're leveraging on the technology to help you automate the process. So it's almost like creating a self-service program, right? Programmatic, helping to use the programs to help automate the way that you buy media and that you're advertising and marketing. A little bit of background for me, just to give a bit of context. There is a little bit of a write-up in the booklets as well that you have. But my background is specifically in digital campaign management. So I'm one of those people that is the one that's on the program, the campaign manager, in your Google DBM. Come on, guys, I need to hear the busted. There we go. Okay. Which was known as DoubleClick Bid Manager. Now they've kind of changed it because Google bought DoubleClick, the company, and now it's called Google Ad Manager, GAM or GAM or whatever the case is. But I was the one that literally uploaded those banner ads in the ad serving platform, selected how many impressions, the start date, the end date, what page on a website it was going to go on to, count the clicks, pull the reports. And then I worked for an ad network as well where we aggregated all of that. And I would acquire publishers, mobile app developers, Mobi sites, publishers that generated apps that wanted to monetize their inventory and make money because generally if you have an online audience, the the easiest way to monetize it is plugging in with Google Ads, which is a form of programmatic advertising, but that was more or less the form of programmatic advertising several years ago. So now the industry's evolved a lot more since then, and I'll take you through the landscape and the evolution that we've got. But yeah, so then I started developing the reputation. Oh, Amanda, she's that one with those annoying pop-up ads that you see on mobile. And I knew I had to go and change jobs quickly. So yeah, let's get started, okay? How many of you are familiar with this quote? Probably what might be interesting to know as well is if you have a look at the top bottom corner there, bottom right corner over there, the date of when that was quoted, when that man was alive. Yeah. I'd find it a bit of an embarrassing surname, but okay, yeah. But this gentleman basically hit the nail on the head in terms of marketing and advertising. Okay, obviously back in the 19th century, there wasn't digital, there wasn't internet, so it's very hard to be able to track anything, to track what you're doing. Okay, and a lot of the ad spend as a result is it's wasted. So I still feel that this is still very relevant in today, even considering how everything in digital is trackable, all right? So in principle, all right, and if you've got your tracking and everything implemented correctly, you should be able to know exactly where your ad spend is wasted, which half is being converting and which half is not, because there's plenty of technology out there. I think the reason why this is still an issue for so many people and so many organizations is because we're not necessarily all clued up on how to implement it, or having the right staff or resources and technologies that you need to use to make sure that your ad spend is not getting wasted and you're not investing ad spend into certain channels that are not converting into your customers that you're wanting. So again, we're going to go a little bit back in time, and I'm just going to try and sort of lay the sort of ground base on how we've got to where we are now in terms of programmatic advertising. Yes? Oh, no, not online advertising, just advertising in general. So it's just advertising and marketing in terms of, you know, you publish an ad or a commercial in a magazine or on a billboard or a radio commercial, or even you just handing out pamphlets to people. No. Like I said, online advertising didn't quite exist in the 19th century, but that quote that came back from them is still very much applicable to what we have now. Very cool, thanks. So, back in the 1990s, like the dot-com internet boom, when the first banner ad was hard-coded onto a website, and someone clicked on it, and someone paid for it, okay? Generally, this is probably the model that most of us are familiar with, all right? Say, for example, I'm an advertiser, Coca-Cola. I want to get my brand out there, get as many people to buy my Coca-Colas as possible, stores to stock it for whatever reason, create good brand awareness that it's a great company, opens up happiness, their catch line, all that jazz. But I want to now reach certain publishers and websites, whether it be blogs, whether it be social media, any media owner, all right? It's pretty much the jargon that you, or the terminology. A media owner is someone that owns or has access to that audience that you're looking for. So think of 24.com or Wall Street Journal, okay? You want your ad to be on there, so you would then engage with that publisher directly, okay? That was the terminology known as reservation buying. From my days as a campaign manager, I worked for a company called Pragmattica. They owned iAfrica.com websites. They owned StirKennyCore.com websites. They owned some local rugby websites. Obviously, when Rugby World Cup came through, traffic volume skyrocketed quite a lot there. Everyone wanted to know who's winning or who's in the lineups. And as the traffic volumes increase, all right, you've got sales teams, okay, that are going out to agencies, going out to advertisers and saying, buy inventory on my website and reach my audience. So that's the reservation buying. From an agency perspective, Donald, you don't know this, but I actually used to work for Aegis in the Cape Town one. So I used to work for Isobar, which then amalgamated into like the iProspect and the Amnets and all those kind of things. And from the agency perspective, it became very difficult and very manual in the sense that if I needed to run my advertising campaign, Coca-Cola, across as many sites and reach as many people as possible, the reservation buying model didn't quite work. Because not only am I engaging with 1 or 2 suppliers, but the more people I need to get, I can't reach hundreds of thousands of sites or applications or pages if I have to interact with everyone on a one-to-one basis in terms of the reservation buying model. So it's not a sustainable buying model or a way to operate your media spend. Then came the ad networks. All right, so pretty much late 90s, early 2000s, you had your ad networks, which are fundamentally aggregators of your unsold ad inventory for publishers. From a marketing perspective, the most common ad network that everyone knows is Google. All right, you've got Google Ads. And anyone can plug into Google Ads, and anyone can open up an account and can run campaigns across Google Ads. So search engine marketing is also a form of Google Ads. It is Google Ads, but you get Google Display Network. So that's the most popular ad network, the most commonly known ad network. All right, from that you had other ad networks that would aggregate, because essentially you would have a publisher. That publisher doesn't necessarily know that there's other ad networks out there, or they're plugging to Google Ads. They're getting a certain amount of ads that are coming through and generating revenue, but they want to increase it. And so there were other ad networks that would specialize in different formats. So it would be an ad network that would specialize in video display ad formats. There would be ad networks that would specialize in emerging markets in Africa, so that you could get more local African content, and African-related ads that's more geared towards your audiences. The thing with the ad networks is they kind of were middlemen between the advertiser and the supplier, so the buyer and the supplier of inventory. So it caused a bit of an issue in terms of transparency. You as an advertiser would plug your ads into ad networks. The targeting capabilities that you have were pretty limited in the sense that you could maybe target a channel, like an entertainment channel. So at least you would only know that your ad is going to be displayed across content that's categorized under entertainment. That's about all you knew, all right? YouTube is even a form of an ad network, because YouTube is the channel, but it's got thousands or hundreds of thousands of digital channels within YouTube accounts. But when you as an advertiser are running a campaign on YouTube and you're targeting, I don't know, maybe specific audiences or specific content, okay, you don't necessarily have control or know what content your ad is going to be associated with. So to give you an example, and it's not the prettiest example, but it's the most effective one that'll kind of get your attention in terms of the brand safety and transparency issues. Think of Land Rover, all right? Land Rover wants to sell their 4x4s in that. They want to get out into the market. But what happens if Land Rover's commercial or Land Rover's ad network ad on YouTube is being displayed next to Al-Qaeda videos? Not a very good thing for brand awareness, right? So from that came just one of a multitude of issues. The other thing with ad networks is publishers were incentivized by clicks, all right? Monetization model that comes in from a publisher that has an audience or plugs in Google ads or any other ad network ads, they would only get paid for the click, not just because the ad is viewed there. So what happens? We kind of go into a little hacker mentality. We're like, oh, how can we cheat the system a little bit here? So then you would create sort of coding areas and that would create fake clicks or click bots. And then kind of came the birth of click fraud and ad fraud. And that comes back to that whole quote that I showed right to the beginning of half my advertising is wasted, just don't know which half. So you know you're getting tens and thousands of clicks across an ad campaign that's going across an ad network of thousands of sites, but you're only able to pull a report to show how many impressions, how many clicks, and conversions on your site. You don't necessarily know which clicks are across which sites that those clicks actually attributed to the conversion that you were getting, because it's effectively like a blind buy. Okay? You guys still with me? I do tend to get a little bit technical here, but I'm hoping that's the purpose of the class, right? Then came about the ad exchanges. All right, and this is pretty much, I would maybe say, the birth of proper programmatic advertising, where real-time bidding and online auctions kicked into play. And ad exchanges, I would say, was pretty much like an upgraded version of an ad network. Okay, what the ad exchanges would do is, so the reason why I've included ad exchange and SSP in the same line there, okay, is because an SSP was almost like an upgraded version of the ad manager tool that the publisher would use. So again, me as a campaign manager, I would only be able to plug in Google Ads or an ad network to my site, okay, using my ad manager software. I would be able to manage direct premium campaigns. If I were to deal with Carrot Ad Agency, they're the ad agency that represents, I don't know, Donald, what